thank you so much to the Academy and everybody out there that supported this film. There were lots of you. We share this award with you. There were so many filmmakers that worked so hard on this, and it was a labor of love. And it was because we have a firm belief that representation matters deeply. Especially in cartoons. Because in cartoons, that's when we first see our movies, and it's how we shape our lives and think about how we see the world. So I want to thank Sony Pictures Animation, who were the progressive people that believed in us from the beginning, Christine Belson, Jeff Korchak. Thank you to Lion Forge Animation, to Six Point Harness, and to Matthew Cherry. Thank you to my beautiful husband, my son Chase and Miles, for believing in me. Thank you so much.
So we have a big team that we have to thank, but time is running short. So I just want to say that Hair Love was done because we wanted to see more representation in animation. We wanted to normalize black hair. There's a very important issue that's out there. It's the Crown Act. And if we can help to get this passed in all 50 states, it will help stories like DeAndre Arnold, who's our special guest tonight, stop to happen. This award is dedicated to Kobe Bryant. May we all have a second act as great as his was. Thank you.
Good New Hampshire Primary Tuesday to you. February 11, 2020, but I don't want to talk about politics. I want to continue talking about love. Today, I want to talk about Hair Love by Matthew Cherry. You know, they received the Oscar on Sunday for the, best short, and I just love this. I can't stop looking at the illustrations by Vashti Harrison. This story has really touched my heart. Oprah magazine had a story about this yesterday, and there was a follow-up story that appeared in NBC News about another boy, although this was not an African-American boy that had a problem with his hair locks at school in Texas. But we'll talk more about him later. But, you know, on Sunday, the Academy was, ridiculed because they didn't have diversity and, equal representation. But yet we had this short movie, Hair Love, that, was given an Oscar. So I don't know why everybody's complaining so much. It's true overall, but this goes, across all positions that they have in movies. And that's an internal issue. And when you come to the night of the awards, people using politics, it's not the right place. Wearing names on your dresses of those women that weren't included, or, it's just not the right place. That's at least how I feel. This Hair Love just hits close to my heart because I grew up with curly hair, and I always had a problem, and I can remember back till before I was 10 years old trying to figure out what I was going to do with my hair, and my parents couldn't really help me. My mom's hair wasn't curly, my dad's was, and of course he wouldn't know what to do. And so I had to figure it out for myself. And that's what happens with this little girl in the 6-minute short cartoon, who, by the way, you can see on YouTube. It's free. So I hope you'll watch it. But it's directed by Matthew Cherry, and it's featuring the voice of Issa Rae, an IndieWire. And I just love this movie, and I'm so glad that I got to see it. I feel it was well done. In the absence of a mother figure, the young girl tries to figure out what to do with her you know, full head of hairs. It's naturally curly, and it is gorgeous. It At the end of the movie, we find out that her mom actually has cancer, and she lost all of her hair. So that's a very interesting dichotomy that we find out at the end of the 6-minute cartoon. I, you know, I have my mother, and like I said, her hair wasn't curly. She didn't know how to help me, and my dad didn't help me. But in this cartoon, the young girl's father does try to help her. They look to YouTube, and they try to look at the tutorial, and they try to figure out what to do. It doesn't work out in the beginning, but then they try again, and you know, they figure it out. And it's so wonderful. And in the beginning of the clip of our episode, I included the acceptance speeches of both the director and the other young woman, Karen Rupert Tolliver. And in the acceptance speech, Cherry talks about the Crown Act. And that's something that I looked into and I want to share more about with you. And he also mentions DeAndre Arnold, their special guest that they had Sunday night at the Oscars. You know, hair is a very special issue for girls and boys. It's not just about African American girls wearing their hair naturally and what to do with it. You know, as we learned about the young boy in Texas who was growing his hair so that he could give it to his sister who has a disease, he's white. So having long hair is something that some people make a choice to have. Whether you put it in a ponytail or dreadlocks, it doesn't matter. Your hair is your own, and how you wear it, you know, that's your choice. In school rules, well, unfortunately, it caused problems for both these young boys in Texas, and I hope that they'll change the rules, especially when the principals know that the reason why they're growing their hair is due to a medical reason. And, you know, you got to give people a break. But back to Hair Love. So in the Oprah magazine story, they quote Cherry as saying, a couple years ago, I came across like a lot of viral videos about African American fathers that were doing their their daughter's hair. And so he talked about this on Good Morning America yesterday. And he just wanted to make it normal. And I think he did a really good job of it. He showcased black, families and what happens. And even though usually it's not the dads that do this, his father figure, I think, is especially important because it shows the role that fathers do play in young girls' lives. So Hair Love's message of acceptance, as I mentioned, it reached the Texas boy DeAndre Arnold, who was suspended from high school for his dreadlocks, and Cherry, brought him along, and he invited him to attend the 2020 Academy Awards ceremony as his guest. He says, quote, "We've all been inspired by your story, and this is the very least we can do to thank you for standing up for yourself and for your right to wear your natural hair at school." So this is something that is uplifting to that young boy. And, this Crown Act that Cherry talks about, there's an online Organize for petition that's advocating for the Crown Act to be passed nationwide. It's a bill that would make it illegal to discriminate against individuals for their natural or protective hairstyles in the workplace or in schools. but only California, New York, and New Jersey are currently the states in this country to pass the Crown Act. So that mention by Cherry that they want it to go nationwide, I hope that you'll look into it and that you will also put your support behind it. Now, Cherry mentions, as he said in his acceptance speech, that he wanted Hair Love. It was done because he wanted to see more representation in animation, and that's what he said in his acceptance speech. And he wanted to normalize black hair, and that there's a very important issue that's out there, that Crown Act, and he wants to get that passed in all 50 states. And it'll help stories like DeAndre Arnold, who was their special guest. Now, as I mentioned, you don't have to go to the movies. You can watch that cartoon. It's 6 minutes long. It's free. It's available on YouTube, on Sony Pictures Animation's YouTube channel. I watched it last night. It was uploaded on December 5th. It's only been up a couple months, and it's already has 17 million views. So it's free. I hope you'll watch it. This 6-minute animation is a production with Lion Forge Animation. And this project was a collaboration with Sony Pictures Animation. And you know that how Jeff Cherry got his money, or Matthew Cherry, excuse me? He started a Kickstarter campaign a couple years ago, and his goal was to raise $75,000. He ended up raising $300,000, which was the highest funded short film campaign in Kickstarter history. Now, Kickstarter is something that if you have an idea and you need to raise money, that you can go, you can put that up there and try to raise money. Now, you have to raise all of the money that you want to. If you don't get the money. So if you don't meet your goal, then you don't get it. This is something that you budding entrepreneurs could think about. It is something I've thought about. It does involve creating some type of a video, some audio, where you tell your story. It's like a pitch that you give to someone that you want to invest in your project. So this is a good way for people to raise money if you don't have the money to do what you want to share with the world. By the way, Hair Love is also available as a picture book on Amazon. So it is a Penguin Random House book that was released in May of 2019, and it is a New York Times bestseller. So, as I mentioned, the film was made possible by History Making Kickstarter, but of course Matthew Cherry has a large following. He has a social media presence, so if you do want to raise money, you should try to build up your social media on Twitter. He has a large following on Instagram as well. So even though it took him a couple years to make this dream come true, it is something that is possible, and it is something that you should include in your dreams and your plans. It's something that if you have an idea, you should pursue it. All he needed was just a little bit of help to get it to that finish line. Even though Cherry used to play football and he used to be with the NFL, he's not, like a big name person. He brought Hair Love, he directed it, he wrote it. He's been working in Hollywood for 13 years. So he comes from a completely different careers. He switches over to show business. He was just a guy that played football. He was a wide receiver, but he retired in 2007. He played for a number of teams, from the Baltimore Ravens to the Cincinnati Bengals. And you know that he's the second ever professional athlete to win an Academy Award. And he thanks his other winner, the late Kobe Bryant, who was the first to win for the Best Animated Short Film in 2018 in his acceptance speech. He dedicated it to Kobe Bryant, and he said, may we have a second act as great as his was. But of course we know that it was cut short. He just, he believes in what he wants to share with the world. You should too. He just wants to keep Kobe's memory alive, and he was excited to see what he was going to do with his second act with his career. His first project got an Oscar, and he knew he was going to do so much more. Cherry shared on CBS this morning, since starting out as a production assistant, Cherry has directed music videos. He's done it for Snoop Dogg. He's done it for others, such as a feature in Beyonce and Kelly Rowland's. He's directed episodes for The Last OG. He's worked on Ava DuVernay, and he's even been an executive producer on the Oscar-nominated Spike Lee film Black K. Klansman. Hair Love is something that is continuing with the theme of love this week, leading up to Valentine's Day on Friday. It's something that does not just affect kids, it affects moms, it affects dads. This cartoon is important to all, all races, all kids. Like I said, my hair and my problem with my hair was something that I struggled with as well. It's something that a lot of girls try to use as a statement. You might want to dye your hair red or green, or just do something different with it. It's a hair statement is something that's very important to young kids. It's when you start to exert your identity. It's something that is a part of you. It's a part of how you look. Your looks are important to you when you're growing up, just as weight is. So it's something that I hope that you'll think about. And as we get closer to Valentine's Day, I want to send out love to all of you, regardless of your hair, whether you think it's beautiful or not. I know a lot of people have always told me you should wear your hair natural and not worry about, doing that blowout and putting chemicals on it and getting treatments. And for me, I'm just very self-conscious. I just can't do it right now. Maybe one day I'll have the guts to do it, but for right now, I still, wear it straight. And, I was thinking about this yesterday too. With Oprah Magazine, they had these 4 photos in covers that they've had in her magazine leading up to their 20-year anniversary. And they were asking us to vote A, B, C, or D on these covers that they've had. And I was looking in there, and I was looking at Oprah's hair, and I was thinking, very interesting that in most of them, she did have her hair straight. And in one, it was very natural, like that big blowout of her hair. And I thought, I wonder if Oprah might one day start to wear her hair naturally, and whether she's thinking about it herself. How you present yourself to the world is something that is, it comes back to you when you look at your pictures, when you look back on your life. It's something that you have to deal with, whether you're a young girl or someone in your 60s, as Oprah is. I hope that you'll look at your life and the way that you carry yourself and consider that hair is something that is a statement that we put out there to the world. However you put yourself out there, I just want you to know that you are loved.